Where are your legs? Yo, what's up? It's someone that's someone, and welcome back to today's report. Today's report was sent in by Jimbo Slice. The substances used: PCP, cocaine, DXM, LSD, cannabis, and tobacco. At a dose of 2 PCP cigarettes, 3 tabs, and 3 ounces of Delsym. The route of administration: smoked and orally. Gender: male. Weight: 150 pounds. For the set, they were looking to ease boredom. And the setting: a friend's house, and then mainly his house. Alright, so we got quite the experience and combination here today. Jimbo Slice and his friend Ray were bored one day and decided to go in together to get a stash of substances. I will note right now that the mixing of all these together can be very dangerous and potentially life-threatening if the conditions are right. This experience turned out to be life-changing for Jimbo. He experiences a ton of different effects and hallucinations, as you can imagine. And later on in, it seems as if he lost his ego for a good portion of it. And he does note that the strongest effects came from the things there are no words for. A hallucinogenic complexity that's beyond human language. You'll just see what's up. This is a good one. Also, this is being uploaded today because you guys did vote this next. It was a clear-cut winner this time, but make sure to catch the next vote. But anyways, I'm sure you'll enjoy this one, so without further ado, let's dive right into this. Bro, I love your videos. Keep up the good work. One day, I was hanging at my house with my close friend Ray, who was a year younger than me and about 140 pounds, if I had to guess. My mom is single, so she works a lot, leaving me home alone pretty often. We were bored, so we decided to hit up the local plug and meet him around my mailbox. Before we could though, we had to figure out what we wanted. We were probably sitting there for around 30 minutes trying to decide what we should buy. Soon we came to the realization that we'll get all the substances we can buy. We both had around $425 together. We ended up buying 6 tabs of acid, 2 PCP cigarettes each, about a quarter ounce of weed, and some coke. He lived around 40 minutes away, so we just decided to wait at the mailbox till he arrived. Once he did and we got our stuff, we asked him how strong the tabs were, and he said they were around 200 micrograms, but he didn't know for sure. After he left, we were talking about how much we should do of all we got. At the time, we were very reckless with our drug use. We said fuck it, and we both took 3 tabs each. Out of us, Ray was better at rolling blunts, so I gave him a couple and he started rolling. Once we had about 3 or 4, we got on our skateboards and rode to one of our friends, Ethan. I knocked on the door and he came out and dapped both of us. At this point, we could start to feel the acid coming on. Ray told Ethan what we have done, and he said we were insane, but we soon went off topic. Ray started to spark up a blunt as we got into talking. After we smoked 2 of them, he then invited us inside. We all then said hi to his mom, who seemed to always watch Jeopardy. When we got in his room, he quickly closed and locked the door. He said he had something for us, and both handed us a 3-ounce bottle of Delsym, DXM, the smaller bottle. Ray and I thanked him and left. It was probably about an hour and a half into the trip, and we could barely see the ground as we were skating. I looked up and noticed that all the clouds were moving in these geometric patterns and almost changing colors. Every time a car went by, I could feel the sound the car made as it went past us. We both agreed we were too high to be riding in the road, so we walked the rest of the way back to my house. Once we got back, he asked if I still had the PCP cigarettes, and I said I did. We both smoked one and went inside. We could feel the dissociation starting. Ray kept complaining about falling. Soon he asked where my legs went, and this led me into a state of paranoia from fear of having no legs. I soon got distracted by the gnome, who kept speaking in a language that doesn't exist. I grabbed the coke I still had on me. This was hard because all my pockets seemed to be missing, and the gnome's voice was very distracting. But eventually, I was able to get the bag from my pocket. When I tried to open the bag, all the coke fell out. I assumed I was holding it upside down. I looked at the bag when the high wore off, and there were no tears. We tried to make lines out of what we could, but it was hard over all the laughing from the voices outside, combined with the table moving side to side, almost as if it was made from water. We both had about 3 or 4 lines, maybe 5, but that's when my friend's face turned inside out, and kept on flipping into different people I knew. I asked him how he could be Theo and Chastity at the same time, some of my friends. He looked at me with huge eyes and asked why I'm sleeping. This confused me because I could see him and I always thought I was awake. The more I thought about anything, the less sense it made. And this started to get me frustrated, and I punched a hole through the bathroom door by my room. Eventually, Ray realized that I was built out of rubber bands, and we both agreed to keep it a secret. My mouth was getting dry from the weed, and I soon looked over at the bottles of Delsym we had on my desk in my room. The more I looked at it, the less real it looked. It almost became a comic book drawing. I grabbed it up, but as I did, it seemed to weigh a lot more than it should. But the longer I held it, the farther away it got from me, so I had to drink it before it escaped. I drank it, and Ray did the same, not fully aware of what we just did. I looked up at the ceiling and noticed that it looked like it was empty, as if it was replaced by nothingness. It was about 3 hours since we took the acid, and we were peaking. Ray didn't seem to be having a fun time though. He just had his face on a pillow while lying on the floor. But this bothered me because I kept feeling someone rubbing against my back, but Ray wasn't behind me. I soon went into a hole of paranoia, but looking at my shifting walls was comforting. I asked Ray what he was doing, and he looked up and said, "Bro, you spelled it wrong." I asked what, and he replied, "You. It's not spelled like that." I agreed and left him alone. He went back to his pillow seemingly instantly. My dissociation almost seemed to be getting stronger, and I got up to turn off the lights, but as I kept on walking towards the light switch, it wouldn't let my hand get close enough. I asked, "Why won't you let me turn you?" And I never got a reply. I looked down and saw the gnome once again speaking his language, but it was almost like I could understand him. I don't remember what he was saying though. I just went back onto my bed and put on the TV. It probably took me about 20 minutes to figure out how to turn it on. I didn't want to deal with figuring out the channels, so I just watched what was on. It happened to be Family Guy, but the more I watched it, the more confused I got. It seemed like the story of the episode was changing every time I blinked, and I kept looking at the time, and it was like each minute was an hour long. So I just lay down and closed my eyes. The echoey sounding noise from the TV was very euphoric. I kept admiring the simplicity and complexity of the closed-eye visuals. It was like I could see every color and no color as I kept going down this spiraling hole of infinite depth. I opened my eyes and found out the weed and coke wore off, and Ray freaking out because he couldn't read his name. I asked him why he couldn't read it, and he pointed to himself and asked if I could read it. I said yeah. Then I said a jumble of sounds that didn't fit any word or letter I knew of, and said, "There, see, I can read it." After I said this, you could see the relief wash over. He basically fell on my bed. DXM makes me extremely tired, so I ended up passing out from that, and also the coke high going out of my system. When I got up, most of the high was gone for both of us. I asked him what happened while I was asleep. He then looked at me with the most concerned look I've ever seen him give. He said the whole night we were talking, and I kept saying things that didn't exist but made sense. After this experience, we both became more cautious of how much we take, but overall, it was a pretty life-changing event. I would have gone into more detail, but most of what happened is impossible to put into words or just wouldn't make any sense if I tried. So, sorry for that.